Hello, I'm Anneliese from Eye Candy Quilts, and this month we are focusing on making stuff with your hands to give your brain the happy juice. And so today we're talking to Miss Tali Dee PhD, who I love her stuff on TikTok. It just gives me happy feelings, but it also gives my brain the stop pause thing. It was like, okay, I can think about it a different way. Because I know we all get in those loops where we're like, okay, well, my brain says this is the only way to do something. So thank you, Miss Tally D, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super happy to be here, and I love your energy for a Monday morning. It is absolutely needed.
Yeah, caffeine helps. So,
Oh,
I have my giant cup of tea right here. So, always good. So
yeah.
today I saw a video of yours from a couple of weeks ago, and all your stuff is good, but one that really resonated with me, especially since I have my fake Zoom background on here, is that some people make creativity look easy. And of
Yes.
course, it's easy for people. And you had a different take on that.
Yeah, yeah, I did. So I ended up talking about this because it's my own personal experience. I am somebody who, for a very long time, didn't engage in anything creative at all, and I realized that once I started doing it, I found myself feeling more frustrated than excited about it. And when I took a step back, I was like, okay, I don't actually know if creativity is meant to be initially joyful and exciting and productive all the time. But when we look at people who are deemed to be like artists or hobbyists and folks who seem to be sort of in their element, what
Mhm.
we see is their joy and happiness. And so initially I was kind of like, well, what's wrong with me? Do I hate
Right.
all of this? And I don't think that ends up being the answer. I think the answer is more so the journey to understanding your creativity is so windy of a road, and
Mhm.
there's so much to learn that there are going to be some hard parts. But really, like once you've like put something out, like and continued on the journey, there is joy to experience. And I'm not gonna lie, like when I realized that, I was like, oh, okay. I was just hoping to relax and have more fun in my life, but I think that there's always something beautiful to learn along
Right.
the way there. So, and that's still something that I'm learning now.
Well, and there's something like I read a lot of random things, and my brain doesn't work in straight lines, and connecting the dots. I connect different dots than other people. So I
Yeah.
remember something I read, and it was a long time ago, and it was a photographer, and he was winning a prize for his whatever photo of the year it was. And they're like, "Well, how did you get this image? How did you do this?" He's like, "I have 500 other images that are almost exactly the same, and I just submitted this one."
Mhm.
So, being creative is you don't see the 499 other things that happened before that one that won this award. It's like there's a whole bunch of other stuff in the background. So, even though he's winning this and he's making it look great and fantastic and easy, there's all the stuff that you didn't see, which especially in the curated AI, picture perfect world is like what is going on in the sides? What is shoved into a corner that's like your shame corner that no one's ever gonna see for how you put everything together? It's like there's
Right.
all that stuff too, and figuring out how you're gonna make it something pretty. It's different for everyone. You gotta let your brain have that make mistakes. Like Miss Frizzle said, get messy, make mistakes.
You absolutely do. And I also think I kind of love this like junk corner idea that you have too, because I think in a sense, a lot of people I think everybody has that. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
we're not going to touch it. These were all terrible things. I probably will never do them again. But you never also know what treasure you're going to gain from it. And I think also there's something about creativity and artistry where I think us as the artists, we're focused on us feeling the positivity and the reward from what we do.
Mhm.
But a lot of times it's meant to go outward so that you can see the experience that other
Right.
people have with it, which I think kind of fits in nicely with this photographer's 400 plus
Right.
other, images that look exactly the same. Like you have no idea how your work is going to impact people.
And there's another maker that I like. She's Jasika is Trice Curious is her name. She's also an actress, but she sews and does a ton of different crafts. And she for the most part is self-taught, but she never classifies when something goes wrong as a fail. As like that's something that she very consciously puts out there is like I did not fail. I learned something. Is like this is a learn she calls them learning successes, which I think is a wonderful way to look at things. Is like I am trying this out. I had an idea. I'm going for it and I did not fail. I had a learning success.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I also think we live in a world where like we're not encouraged to have them, that everything that we put out is supposed to be 1000%, which is so deeply unrealistic, as we all know. And I know that, on occasion I say, allow yourself to be a beginner at whatever you do, especially at any stage. And the B in beginner stands for bad. Like it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bad, it's gonna be ugly. But you are gonna learn something from it. You have no idea what that's gonna be or where that's gonna take you.
Yeah, there's so many ideas that you get from being bad. Like, there what is it gonna lead to next? Like, this was a terrible idea. I'm not done with the whole thing. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna never pick up a pencil again. I'm not gonna never sew again. This
Right.
one thing didn't work out.
Right. But, maybe it's also like I tried punch noodling it's probably a
Oh,
couple weeks ago now. And I was like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I can't wait. Like this just feels like something that's gonna be for me. And when I tell you there were so many holes in that piece of fabric,
Yep.
I was so annoyed. I was annoyed at how much I paid to like start it. And
Mhm.
but I was also kind of like, but there is something cool about it. And now I'm thinking about all of the punch needle adjacent things that I think I would find really interesting,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I still appreciate the artistry of how somebody does it. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't think you have to bright side everything in the world.
No.
Like if it's not for you, it's not for you. You know what I mean? Like I
No.
picked up punch needle again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like there is always something to appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. Let's not I like that. Not bright side everything. Toxic positivity is like, "Oh, but you did this." No, sometimes it just sucks, man.
Yeah.
Like, no. It's
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 just bad.
not always for you. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Like it was a bad thing. It was terrible and I hated it. And I even feel this way about social media and my first step back into creativity
Mhm.
was to talk about it because I came from, a psychology, field. I came from therapy and I was like, okay, my best way out into action is through theory, so it makes sense for me.
Right.
And content creation was not something that I, like, even knew anything about, and so,
Mhm.
um, I mean, I don't keep anything in drafts. I think I've kept a total of 1 thing in the drafts. I just
I am
say
the
things and
opposite
I go.
energy. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I just put it out. I might, like, rework it as I'm
yeah.
going along, like, as I do the video, but I think for the most part, feel I feel trustworthy enough that if it excites me, I'm gonna talk about it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
Not necessarily like if it excites the world. Um, and like my words are probably my art in the moment, and
Yeah.
that's okay. So yeah, I just put it out there, and sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, I saw what you did there.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
That's okay. And other times I'm like, this was brilliant, but the algorithm doesn't find it brilliant, or like,
Yeah.
or the audience does, and I'm like, oh, that's really, really great. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you can do whatever you please. And I also think it's really important to just throw it on the wall, see if it sticks.
Yep. The other thing too that you said is like you liked it. So how it's received out into the world, that's a separate thing. Like your
Yeah.
creativity does not have to be validated externally to get all like big word whatever. It's like you do your stuff for you. Like it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the best way to make sure that you're actually tied to something that feels important to you,
Mm,
right? Like we're talking about passion, we're talking about desire here. Um, and I think that's probably a mantra I just keep in life. Like if it interests me and I'm like, oh yeah, then what's stopping me from doing it besides, I mean, probably like means and
yeah,
things like that, right?
that whole money thing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that whole money thing is just kind of silly. But, if I feel the drive and I feel the desire, what that tells me is, okay, like this is a value of mine. It is valuable to me. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to shine the brightest when I'm in alignment with the things that mean a lot to me.
Right.
Right. So if it's a matter of like doing something with my hands, or sometimes for me, it's like a full body experience when I'm doing
Yeah,
something creative, like, um, if it's like sparking it up for me, even if I don't know what's gonna come out of it, I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, just saying, "Go for it."
I agree. I was like, there's you go for the happy, go for the dopamine wherever it takes you. I was
Yeah,
like, it's all good stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think we can wrap it up and find you on social media at Tali Dee PhD. That's where you are on TikTok. That's where your website is. And I'm excited to see. I've been watching again. I stalk you. I've been watching your social conference, your creative conference thing idea that you're working on. I'm very excited to see that
Yeah,
develop.
my hobby
So
fair. I'm really
yes,
excited. I am in, like, early works to making that happen, doing it in the DC area to start, New York area if I can figure out a way to make that happen.
that's gonna
Uh,
be
but
super.
yeah,
I'm very excited. I
yeah.
will. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. And your stuff is always fun to see. So, we'll talk to everyone else next time. Thank you.
You.